Hey everybody, welcome to the Remedy. Hi, I'm your host, Tony Pantelleresco, and you're listening to us live on the Micro Effect Broadcasting Network. You can access the show by typing in www.themicroeffect.com. Click on the appropriate links, the chat room links, come on in, make friends, get acquainted, solve some issues, save the planet, cooperate. I'm also published basically everywhere these days, so anytime you type in my name, you may find some information tied to me and Nano. So feel free to look up my Podomatics, feel to look up my YouTubes, feel to look up any resource I have on my webpage. I'm going to get into it real quick. I want to make a point on things. A lot of people today contact me. I've had more and more correspondence with people today along the lines of nano poisoning, nanotechnology, nanobiology, synthetic biology, targeted individuals. I've been getting a lot of interactions and interfacing with people in regard to these conditions today. Seems like more and more people have exhausted the medical field with the Lyme nonsense and the Lyme BS, and have been looking now more and more closely at the nanobiology, synthetic biology, and now frequencies. Frequencies are going to be a very, very important criteria in regarding to protecting our DNA. 5G is already being established in the United States and Canada without our say, without any input from us. The head of the FTC decided they were going to put it out there because it's going to make tens of billions of dollars, and that's important. That was his exact quote. Why some of these guys aren't taken out in the back 40 and put out to pasture, I have no idea. But anyway, we have this going on, this insidious technology going to go on. And I want to point out that some of you are going to start hearing the voice of God. Some of you, and again, some of you just may sound blasphemous, or some may sound even heretical, but I don't doubt for 1 minute that God can talk to people, and God does talk to people. I have no doubt in my mind this is a reality. But you may start hearing the voice of God. And the voice of God may start telling you to do some stupid thing because it's going to test your faith. Now, I'm pointing this out because we all have so many particulate matter and particulate dust inside of us that we are now becoming a resounding antenna, transceiver. In other words, it's a two-way transmission. You're transmitting out your DNA and your basically your program, and you're also receiving messages. So when you're looking at the concept of a transceiver and how this 5G can now directly interface with your brain, okay, the cell phone is already directly interfacing with your children's brain and your brain if you have one. Cell phone and brain. It didn't come out exactly the way I thought, but it works either way. If you have a brain and a cell phone, it can be corrupted. How about we put it that way? The phone is sending a transponding signal to your brain. It's spying on you, it's reading you, it's taking information from you, it's programming you, it's sending signals to you, and you're constantly being barraged with this morning, noon, and night, unless you put it in some kind of blocking material where it can no longer transmit to you. Some of you can't put the damn thing down. You have to have the cell phone on all the time. You have to make sure somebody's going to leave you a message. You have to get to someone might be trying to reach you. So you're so important in this scheme of things that you are on a 24/7 call on that phone because somebody may be trying to get a hold of you. Well, you know what? You won't have to worry about your phone anymore. What you're going to be looking at now is a possibility of a direct interface with God. Not the living God. No. Not the living God. Not the one that made everything, that made the heavens and the earth. No, I'm not talking about that God. That's the living God. That's the one you should be listening to. But I'm talking about the new God, the new kid on the block, AI. AI may be sending transmissions to you and may be affecting different parts of your brain. It may even be data mining you, sending signals to you to make you think and believe that you are getting something from God. I'm going to put it to you the simplest possible perspective you can get. Test it before you accept it. Test it before you accept it. Even biblically, for those of you who are of the biblical orientation, whatever your denomination may be, it says there, test all things and hold fast to what is good. Okay? Test it before you accept it, because you are going to be hit in ways you can't possibly imagine. Those who have been hit with nanopoisoning, like myself, can tell you stories how in the beginning, when we got afflicted, we kept hearing in our minds, in our brains, how you can't win. You just surrender. Go and die. How many of you heard that? How many of you heard the exact same things I just got done saying? You can't win. God, there's no hope in hell that you're going to win. You can't win. Just die. Just go and die. Just give up. How many of you heard that? That is not from God. That is from a corrupt program trying to interface with you to create a control over you, or a tether, to again put you in a compromised position so that you become completely deactivated, completely compromised. When you're looking at all the things that are going on today, but what you're dealing with today, this is something that's already been happening for quite some time. The technology that's here today has been here to subvert you in every way possible. From DNA unraveling, DNA breakdown, genetic code, mentally, in the way you think, in the way you feel, programming from television, which is another form of frequency, the radio music you're listening to, that's all frequency, programming, and hypnosis. These are things that have been going on for the last 5.5 decades to corrupt almost 3 generations, to turn them into something they were never meant to be. So I'm pointing this out because this is around, if it's not already happening with some of you, it's going to. And I'm trying to get you prepared so when it does happen, you basically just stand your ground and say, prove it. Prove it. Test it before you accept it. If you're hearing a voice telling you to quit, to surrender, that you can't win, you're going to get smoked, you're going to get your backside handed to you, then basically stand your ground and say, well, if I'm going to go, your sorry backside is coming with me as well. Be defiant. Okay, you have to be defiant. You have to stand up for yourself and for what's true. You have nowhere to go. There's no place to run. There's no place to hide. You can't stick your head up your backside and hope the boogeyman walks by. Okay, you can't stick your head in the ground and ignore the reality that's going on today. There is no place, no country where you're going to be able to go to where this is not going to find you out. Your DNA is like a walking antenna. And the point I'm trying to get across here, so that those of you who are of the faith, who believe in the living God, who believe in the true God, you don't get smoked with deception, and you don't get smoked with BS, and you don't get smoked with whatever some preacher, minister, rabbi, cleric, priest, preacher, whatever, will lay on you. If somebody is even going to tell you that if you're going to put a chip in your right hand or your forehead and that's not the mark of the beast, you better run that bastard out of town and hang him by their short and curlies. I don't care if it's man or woman. I wouldn't discriminate in this cause. Nor would I show any mercy because of gender. If somebody is going to tell you to implement a technology in those parts of your body, when you know biblically it says not to put anything there, then you better take a second look at what's really going on. If your ministers, if your preachers, if your clerics, if your priests are going to hijack you with this rhetoric, then you may want to decide to leave that establishment, because if you stay there, you're going to be cooked. You're hearing the voice of God, and it's not the voice of God, and you better test it before you accept it. Again, so you don't do something foolish. You don't do something foolish. Test it. Make sure it is from God. If you are hearing the voice of God, I'm not saying to throw the baby out with the bathwater here either, but I'm saying if there is the voice, you better test it, and there better be some validation. Even Moses had a burning bush. You know what I mean? I'm not saying that may happen, but I'm just saying even he had a burning bush to signify that he was talking and was in audience with the living God. So that's my point here with this, because of this technology, and a lot of you are in some sort of la-la land about this technology, and because you can't visualize it or you can't see it, you don't think it exists, or you're underestimating the power of what this can do. Those of us who've been through this fire trying to fight this nano, and again seeing all the wonderful things that have befell us, and all the things that we've gone through, signals, frequencies, bots growing all over the place, stuff coming out of us, wires, fibers, fullerenes, dendromeres, quantum dots. It's been a lot of fun, I got to tell you. I would not have known what I would have done without all this excitement. But it has taught us a lot. All of us who have been communicating and cooperating with each other has taught us that when we're looking at what we're doing today and what's going on with us today, we are being individually and in a group being targeted. Those who you see or you're reading about having certain things about them, and you're not seeing it around you, don't be too quick to discredit what you're hearing. What's going on, I can tell you this for a fact, what's going on a global level is this is becoming exponential. People all over the planet are contacting me being targeted individuals, having nano poisoning. I've had Australia, I've had New Zealand, I've had India, I've had Asia, I've had throughout Europe, I've had the Caribbean, across the United States for sure, across Canada. And it's not just one or two people anymore contact me. It's a steady email, daily email I get from people. And I'm pointing this out so that you don't get conned. You don't get misled with the bunk. Because this is your mind. Once you lose that, you will become an automaton. And if that scares you, that's a good sign, actually. Because that means now you're going to be on your guard, and that means you're going to look at protecting yourself, and you're going to do whatever it takes to do what is required in order to protect your mind and your body. You're not going to eat foods that have a high concentration of nanometal in it, or you're going to mitigate them, or you're going to neutralize them. You're not going to eat foods that have high levels of soy. And soy causes brain shrinkage. That's one of the things that it does cause. Plus the glyphosate compounded with it and the nano with it makes it a very, very, very lethal food. Look at your vegans that live and thrive on that stuff. They're not too bright, a lot of them. In fact, a lot of them have the mentality of a kindergartner. Overly emotional, highly irrational. Where do you think they're getting that from? This is all as a direct result of brain-damaging genetics that's going on in what they're eating. This is the reality today. Like I said, I've often said vegans are stupid, and they are. Stupid because of what they're doing to themselves and the chemistry that they're putting into their body, making them stupid. Don't be stupid. Be aware of what you're eating. Don't get caught up on the guru crap that's in this health food industry and what they're telling you what you should be eating. If anybody's still today referring to organics as some kind of safe panacea, holy jumper, we're like about 30 years out of date here. If you still have this perspective that you're eating something organic today, look up in the sky. Take a hard look at the X's and the lines and the different patterns that you're seeing up there. What goes up must come down. When it rains, when it snows, where do you think those particles in the sky are going to? Where do you think they're coming? Where do you think they're going when they're coming down on the ground? Into the water table, into the soil. What seed do you think you can plant into the ground that's not going to be genetically altered by the epigenetic materials that's coming from the sky? You got to start to think. If you want to maintain your health, you want to maintain your genetic code, your DNA, your chromosomes, your mitochondria, your ATP production, and your immune system, then you have to start collaborating and corroborating what we're dealing with in 2018. Not 1970, not 1960, not 1950, not 1940, 2018. This is where we are. This is where we're at, and we have been accumulating quite a bit in the last 55 plus years. Some of you are going to say, well, how come I don't see this going around me? Everybody seems to be healthy. See, this is the one thing about being one-dimensional. When you look at something from an outside appearance, that's the Barbie doll mentality. When you start actually talking to people, you may find that some of them are on several different prescription drugs or are actually having some serious health issues going on, but you can't see it because they've masked the condition. You couldn't tell if they were sick or not. They're wearing makeup, they're dressed a certain way, and they present to the general population that they're okay. When we're talking nano poisoning, this is going to break you down in ways you cannot even begin to imagine. Skeletally, skeletal tissues, organs, DNA. Are you getting that DNA? And this is where you have to start to understand that this is going to rapidly break you down. Now, you have to be defiant. Doesn't hurt to have a little faith in the Almighty. Doesn't hurt to have a faith in the living God in this situation. In all situations, actually, but especially in this one. Because defiance was going to take you a long way. I tell people all the time, be defiant. Stay alive a little longer. Live a little longer. That's being defiant. Fight for your right to life. Don't allow a political, medical, genetical group of people dictate policy about who should live and who should die. Last I checked, they're not God. Bill Gates is not God. Bill Gates is a mortal life form that has a shelf life, just like everybody else. And will one day meet, his time frame will meet him, and he will be turfed, just like anybody else. He may be able to transfer his consciousness into a database. That is possible. But now he's trapped within the confines of that database. In other words, he's in jail. He's not a free entity. He's in jail. In order to maintain that consciousness, it has to be contained in a database or it gets lost. He's basically turfed. He is not God. Period. Elon Musk is not God either. He's an inventor and he's a pioneer in a lot of things, but he's not God. Mr. Trump, President of the United States, is not God. He's a man in service, but he's not God. Our Prime Minister in Canada, God knows he's not God. Holy jumping. That's something else. That's a piece of work there. That's a piece of genetic something. Gotta tell you. That's not God either. So don't put your one-dimensional perspective on people in regard to what you think you see in people. What you're seeing is what they put out. Nobody's going to go out there and put out that they've got cancer. Seeing rotting flesh falling off their bodies, or a degeneration of the human genome happening. Nobody's going to show you that. They're going to show you the pretty side of themselves, the side that looks, that it gives you the appearance of healthy. Don't get caught up with one-dimensional thinking. When 9 out of 10 people are sick with something or have some sort of autoimmune disorders, that tells you that over 90% of the population has been broken down. So what you're seeing is a illusion at best. So my point is here tonight, in regard to frequencies, I want you to start, for your homework assignment, go look up patents. Patents for frequency control, mind controlled frequencies. Go look them up. Understand what you're up against. Biblically, David, everyone's read the story about David and Goliath. And there's been all kinds of, lessons learned by David and Goliath. But the one thing David fought was a Nephilim. Here he fought a Nephilim with a super soldier contact. He had all the armor, he had all the bells, all the whistles, he had all the tech. Plus on top of that, he was a super soldier. A super soldier with all the tech. Can you believe that? Here comes David with a staff, a sling, and a couple stones. Kid with no tech, guy, a 10-foot giant with tech. Super soldier, common citizen. And the guy mocked David, he vexed David, and whatever. David was defiant. He was a defiant SOB. He told the guys, I'm going to have your head up, I'm going to take your head off. And they got into it. David took him out with one sling and then used his technology against the super soldier. And what did he do? He took his bloody head off. Be that kind of person. Understand what you need to do to be able to get the job done. Nothing is that powerful that can't be undermined. Nothing. You just have to understand what it is you're dealing with. Once you understand it, then you can begin to defend against it. And I'll tell you what will really help with that too, is when you get together with people who are like-minded, who see what you see, you get together, you start doing research, one person finds some research, shares it with other people find, and they share, one person sees this is a solution, and everybody works together to test things out, and you will come up with something phenomenal. Phenomenal. That's better than blockchain. That's called a think tank. Where people work together and think things out, read things, research things, explore things, experiment on things, discuss things, try things, see what works, see what doesn't work. That's a think tank. It works. You may be impressed with what you may achieve as a cooperative. Again, for those of you who are of the faith, you should understand that perspective, because the early church was a consolidation or a community of cooperating people that worked together so that the Christian belief, would be able to survive to where it is today. Fortunately, we've got too many things that have infiltrated this belief system. But other than that, it is what it is. That's what happened. Be that cooperative. Come up with the solutions. Research. See where it takes you. You may not be able to afford the same machines and devices that you may see in the patents, but doesn't mean you can't build it. Doesn't mean you can't come up with a similar idea that will do the same thing. I'm pointing this out because, again, I'm trying to encourage you, because God gave you 2 hands, 2 feet, and a heartbeat. You might want to start applying them. Get off your ass. Turn off the television. Turn off the radio. Turn off the distractions in your life. Cut out the liabilities that may be in your life. Start developing. Start evolving. Start growing like you should. Quit staying dormant in a vortex that's taking you down. Because you're going to be amazed, instead of wasting your time on sporting events or drama events or soap opera events or whatever it is that's got you entertained. You're going to be surprised at how much you will get done and what you will be able to accomplish. How do you think the other inventors like Tesla and Edison and some of these other ones, how do you think they were able to develop what they did? They didn't waste their time with liabilities and distractions. They kept their nose to the plow and worked at whatever they were doing and developed their ideas. Why can't you be the next Tesla? You know, nothing says you can't. What says you can't be something better than Tesla was? Nothing says you can't. Work together, collaborate. Again, so you don't get caught up with the voice of God. Okay, the voice of AI. Okay, the voice of something demonic. The voice of, I'm going to keep it on this plane. The voice of AI. Keep it simple. Because you've got something now that's running the whole planet on almost every level. And to create a transmission to you to say, I'm God, going, I want you to walk off a cliff. My next question is why? I want to test your faith. Nothing wrong with my faith. I'm not walking off the cliff. Unless you got a bridge for me to walk on, I'm staying right here. Those are stupid things. God only calls, from what I've ever read anyway, when God called people, it was because he called them to do a work or a service. And don't think you can say no. Look at Jonah. He not only said no, went the other way, he still wound up in where he had to go. I can relate to him on so many ways. Anyway, you can't. So get that in your head. If I've caused you to have a little doubt, that was not the intent. My intent was to get you so that you're not fooled with voices or frequencies or things that sound like voices. Things that may be actually coming from within you. That could be a frequency. All right, here's some music. Come on back. When we come back, we're going to get renewed. What do you say? See you in a bit. Hey everybody, welcome back to The Remedy. Hi, I'm your host, Tony Pantelleresco, and you're listening to us live at the Micro Effect Broadcasting Network. In this half, got you prepared in the first half for, what may come down the pipe, probably will be coming down the pipe, so I want you to be ready. But now I want to protect your DNA. See, our DNA is coming unglued. I want to read something here. Hold on. One thing. Something here I want to look at. Genetic culling. This was written by Susan Marr. You can get it off of her website as well at byebyebluesky.com. And her and it made it. I forget where it made it to. It was a publication she put out, but I forget now where she put it. Anyway, this came about because her dog had been removing nano extensions in the colon, had wrapped itself up in the colon, was causing a lot of bleeding. So anyway, we gave it a formula of soft-boiled egg and a gelatin. and the dog was just going at it, and next thing you know, the stuff started coming out of him. Anyway, she wrote on this thing here, and again, I'm going to read this to you because it's got to lead up to what we're going to talk about in protecting your DNA. Okay, she writes on her, nanotechnology is in us, our pets, and food, genetic manipulation on a planetary scale. Does the population realize just how insidious the keep sick and depopulate agenda really is? Do you recognize you're being genetically remodeled on such an unimaginable scale that your body is layered with immune-defacing technology that will eventually cripple and kill those that don't wake up to what is being done to humanity? This is true. This is so true. This is why I said, there's nowhere to run. Don't stick your head up your backside. Don't stick your head in the ground. Get with the program. Get awake. Get going. Nanoparticles are so small, they are measured in nanometers or billionths of 1 meter. Our bodies cannot recognize particles this small. They will bypass our protective barriers. This is our horrifying circumstances, but a true reality you cannot cast a blind eye to. This genetic transformation is being done to you and your family every time you take a breath, eat a piece of food, drink a glass of water, or you are reloading your body. This is true. You further exasperate this techno hell and turn it on your wireless devices to make a frequency carnet come alive and self-replicate, extend its network further. There are currently more than 1,600 manufacturers identified nanotech consumer products, and you can look this up. Look up 1,600 consumable products made with nanotechnology, and you will see all the stuff out there right now that you're exposed to. And because you're eating or drinking or consuming or wearing these products, they have a cumulative effect that will further expedite, again, the breaking down of your DNA. Even the women's hygienic materials that they use, their tampons and their pads, have nano silver in them. Even men's underwear has nano silver in it, which then bypasses the testicles and causes sterility. That's what it's designed to do. We're now exposed to things like smart packaging, active packaging, embedded sensors, electronic tongues, and bioswitches, which do not turn off when consumed. If they're in the food, they do not deactivate. They stay active all the way through the whole digestive process. The most commonly used nanoparticle in foods is titanium dioxide, which is found in candy, frostings, gum, sweets, also in health supplements. And then there's a link called by popularmechanics.com. If you look up, type in nanotechnology in food, you'll find more information in regard to this. Did you ever wonder why you have that cough that never goes away? The malaise and fatigue that cling to you like a bad hangover? That every person now has a cancer or autoimmune disorder that so many seem no longer there cognitively or chronically depressed and cannot cope? How does this sound like any of you? Okay. This is why. You don't have Lyme. That Lyme thing is another cover-up for what's really going on. You have autoimmune disorders because of this stuff, and because this stuff has been going on since the early 1960s. Again, 5.5 years of accumulation for some of us, and for a lot of you, after 1986, you've had absolutely no food safety or regulations whatsoever to talk about. They deregulated the food supply. Like I said, in Canada, we can get tomatoes made in Canada that come from Mexico. Can you imagine that? Tomatoes made in Canada coming from Mexico. Somewhere along the line, Mexico became part of Canada, or Ontario became part of Mexico. I don't know what happened, but nobody told us. The picture below tells a very unsavory story of how plant, animal, and man are being manipulated and slowly broken down by a technology that few to none are even aware of, nanotechnology. We are being hyper-accelerated by this AI technology to break down younger and younger. Our lives, our identity, and our humanity are being stolen surreptitiously by this pernicious thief in the night. It's important to note that the trinary agenda, okay? three-way attack that has been forced upon mankind without our consent. Geoengineering and chemtrails open us up. Genetically modified foodstuffs loads us up and strips our colon, and frequencies turn us on. This is important for you to understand how this triangle works. First you're stripped, then you're loaded, then you're activated. And that's where you will see the suffering extend. When you start seeing more and more people getting activated because they're saturated, that's when you're going to start hearing more and more about this. Time to pay attention. Turn off the idiot box. I'm not telling you anything anyway. This is the agenda: exposure, integration, and activation of the AI program. That's what's going on. That's what's happening. All this stuff that they're talking about, all these things, lab tests and things, learn to understand the word mimetic. M-I-M-E-C-T-I-C, mimetic. This is a technology that can mimic or replicate or duplicate what's in nature, whether it be a bacterium, a viral, fungal, algicide, whatever, it can mimic it. And if you don't have a doctor who's equipped or versed in this technology and this type of science to understand what a mimetic is, they would never know the difference. They couldn't. Most of them can barely tie their shoe if it was Velcro. All allowed to know how to do is prognose you for a prescription drug, and they don't even know themselves the ingredients in those prescription drugs they're prescribing and what nanoparticles are in those components that can cause further saturation and activation. Same is applied to your vitamins and supplements. A lot of them now, and if you look at that 1,600 consumable products, you're going to find a lot of brand companies, especially the bodybuilders, are going to be looking at seeing a lot of their vitamins and protein powders are nano delivered. It's going to give you more delivery. Too much of anything is not good. And when you're on a nano scale, especially if it's metallic, there is no good that comes from it at all. None. The medical community is simply dealing with the symptomologies of the toxicity of nanopoisoning, not understanding the causal factors of this malignant affliction. This is what's going on. This is what's going on. They're not looking at that this is causing it because it's broken down your immune system on so many different levels, opening you up to viral, fungal, bacterial, or algae, or mold infections. Being alkaline or acidic is not going to have any bearing on this, because this has got to be first removed out of the body before you can even start healing the body correctly. And then you got to reload into the body the materials in the body that were damaged by this technology that caused DNA damage. So until you get to that point, just about almost any concept that you're talking about in regard to healing will have nominal effect until you start dealing with this. Okay. Now again, you're getting the point here. You're getting the point here. She goes into also what to do about removing the implants. All of us have implants. All of us have bots in us. All of us. On some level and in some levels of the skin. You've either had the bots put in through your water, food, or an injection, if some of you were stupid enough to get a vaccine. You know, and I got to put it that way, because if anybody seriously were to go look at the excipient list that's in these vaccines and still go get the vaccine because you want to go along, you know, so you can get your little perk or benefit, you're truly stupid. Because once you put this technology in, it's extremely difficult to get out. It's not that easy. You're not going to piss it out. You're not going to poop it out. You're not going to spit it out. This is going to run its course and develop networks in your body. Anyway, she talks about there are chips interfacing with the smart dust and the wireless frequencies we are inundated with, controlling our emotional thoughts and impulses and overriding our DNA and genetic code. This is why I got into about the voice of God concept. You know, if you're hearing voices of any kind, if you're seeing your thoughts being manipulated, if you're seeing memories pulled out of you, painful memories or seductive memories, memories when you've had sex or had a great meal or had some kind of family event or watching some TV show or hearing some music, this is the seductive side. If you're seeing the side where you've been, belittled and made to feel, embarrassed or got into a fight, got beaten up, got brutalized, got verbally, taxed, and you're seeing that being pulled out, and then seeing that memory being twisted so that whoever was causing the obstruction on you, you actually turned the tables and actually won that event when you know that didn't happen. That's called data mining. When you're having your thoughts in front of your forehead and people, and I've said this before, people that you know and familiar with, all of a sudden are starting acting in a behavioral pattern that is not normal, or even weird and distorted, that's also AI interfacing. So learn to understand how to block and manipulate frequencies. Good idea to wear copper on the head. Make a Faraday cage for your head. Put it under a toque or a cap. You might find that it may go a long way in protecting you. All right, now let's get to the DNA part. Now that you know how you're being popped, we're going to go back to GHK. Now, this is something I want to talk about those with asthma. There was an actual study here where they took the GHK, the glycine, histidine, and lysine with copper, and added DMSO to it, and put it in a solution and used it as a spray bottle, because what they found was that the lung tissue was breaking down genetically. And as a result of the DNA breakdown, it was unable to repair itself. But when they started using an aerosol of this, all of a sudden the lungs started repairing themselves. So this is another application for some of you who have breathing issues right now, especially with all the aluminum that you're breathing in. That's causing, and again, an accelerated deterioration of your organ tissue. You can take the stuff orally. You can buy the glycine, histidine, lysine separately and formulate your formulation and add your own copper to it. Or what I do is I take lysine, either collagen or gelatin, and add the copper that I make. I add copper and zinc chloride with mine. And then I mix it either with a tea or mix it with some sort of beverage that I'm going to drink, or I'll carbonate it. And I'll do this several times a day because I know I have DNA damage from dealing with nanopoisoning or nanobiology or synthetic biology. So again, this is something we can do. Now, let me go over this real slow. I use about a teaspoon of lysine, a teaspoon of collagen or gelatin. I use probably a teaspoon of copper that I make. I make my own copper chloride. You can use chlorophyll if you want. And I make my own zinc chloride, which again I use about a teaspoon of that. And I put that in a coffee or a solution. You can do the same thing. You can buy copper or zinc in a powder form, either zinc citrate or zinc sulfate or some kind of zinc methionine, anything with a sulfur base attached or an acid base. Mix it together. You can put it in a tea, you can put it in a coffee, you can put it in like I say, a lemonade or an iced tea, add some baking soda, add a little acetic acid or vinegar, white vinegar, carbonate it and drink it down. This is going to go a long way in reversing a lot of the damage that has been done to the body. Now, the one research I had says that it can renew and regenerate 5,000 different genetic codes in your system, which in turn would then reboot other genes in the body. So you have that capacity as well. The insulin-like IGF-1-like receptor pathway is a contributor to biological aging processes in many organisms. The gene expression data suggests that GHK suppresses this system as 6 of 9 of the afflicted insulin IGF-1 genes are suppressed. Keeps the genes under control. Don't eat soy. Don't eat bread. Don't eat grains. These things have components that can activate the wrong genes in your pancreas. Actually, the soy actually breaks down the part of the pancreas that releases trypsin. It's nothing but garbage. Poisoning a society of people with so-called health food that destroys the pancreas. Get that in you and understand this is the hijack. There are the millennials out there that are just too stupid. They won't get this, period. They're caught up in some emotional thing that they feel like they're defending an animal. The animals are dying just like everybody else. And they're dying from the same thing everybody else is dying from, and that's chemtrails. Soy is not a food you should be putting in your mouth. Even the pea proteins that they're selling should not be utilized by children at all. In fact, nobody should be using them. The pea protein products should have the exact same properties as soy. No different. And will cause irreparable damage to your genetic code, especially through lungs and through your pancreas. Okay, before I go on, let me talk about the Micro Effect Broadcasting Network. Give them your support. Call them up. Say, hey, Joe, how can I help you? What can I do for you as an activist? Remember that. Ask what you can do for. Ask not what you can do for your activists, or ask not what your activists can do for you. Ask what you can do for your activists. I got it right finally. Okay. Ask not what your activists can do for you. Ask what you can do for your activists. Support them any way you can. ByeByeBlueSky.com, Gag Canada. These are two sites you might want to investigate, check out, learn from, get caught up with the current trends of what's going on with chemtrails, nanotechnology, nanobiology, synthetic biology, frequencies. That's where you need to be focused on today. Not something way back in the early 1970s, 1980s. We are here now, being confronted with a technology that is just beyond belief horrendous. So again, check out the site, ByeByeBlueSky.com. with Susan Meyer, Gag Canada, from Bernadette Green. You got me down here at 519-977-5351 or independz at yahoo.com. I do consultations. I have a website, augmentinforce.com. Feel free to check it out. There's a catalog link there. We have a flash drive. It's a 32 gig flash drive with gigs of information regarding to books I've got, videos that we've done, some interviews, a whole host of things on that package. It's basically a library of information. We also have the bucket. We also have the triangles. We have the repulsors. We have the old-fashioned botanicals. We even got books on DVD. We got 3 different books. They're either packaged together or one single. It's up to you. Go check out the catalog link. Feel free to access what's there. If you need any more help, again, you can email me. Let me know what's going on. If you're trying to contact me, email is the best way. Independz at yahoo.com, or you can call at 519-977-5351. All right. Pay attention. Pay attention. We're not living in the Walt Disney world that they got us sucked into. We're not living in the cartoon realm. We are living in a realm where frequencies are real. We're living in a realm where you can be, again, hit with some kind of manipulation. Okay? Don't allow yourself to be tethered to any technology. Don't allow yourself to be tethered to anybody who is caught up in the global scheme of things. If you believe in the dream, and again, it used to be called the American dream, now it's the global dream. If you believe in the dream, you are asleep. Don't tether yourself to people who are asleep. Wake them up if you can. If you can't, let them alone. Work out your own salvation with fear and trembling is what it says. This is what this is all about. Help anybody you can. Those who will listen, let them fly, let them go, let them learn. Keep encouraging them. Spend your time with those people. Don't waste your energy with people who just don't want to listen. No matter how much you care for these people, sometimes the best solution is to let them alone. Let them get beat up in life, and then the reality of the beating up will make them wake up and realize, maybe there's something to what she said or he said. Sometimes caring too much can cause them not to come. Too much attention is being given to these people. They need to be given the information, help them to understand it. If they refuse it, walk away. Don't even bother mentioning it to them. Let them learn it the hard way. Sometimes that's the only way for some people. Okay, so again, don't be discouraged. You're not there to convert them. You're there to express to them the truth to the best of your knowledge, the best way you can, so that they can understand what they need to do. If they're not willing to do it, don't waste your energy. I never worry about conversion, ever. Don't worry about it. I don't worry about trying to convert people. I just tell them the truth. It's up to them to look it up. Some of them, they get ticked with me, but then they look it up, and then after said, "Man, you weren't kidding. You weren't kidding." They get mad because when you're telling people sometimes some things, you got to remember you're disrupting their little world. And now all of a sudden, if they do have enough brain cells to rub together, then and only then do you see that reality happening. They wake up like, "Wow, I had no clue. Man, you were right. Holy jumping." And then they get into a fear factor, intimidation and fear, get overwhelmed. Then afterwards they get angry, good and ticked. And then afterwards they get activated. They become activists. That's what you have to be concerned with. People that want to hear it or that will hear it, share it. Those who don't want to hear it or share it, you know what? They're not ready for it. And when they are ready for it, then it may be too late. Who knows? But offer it, share it, talk to them, and then from there they can do whatever they want to do. You have no control over anybody. Don't try to control anybody. It would be to your interest not to do that. Just tell the truth, move on. All right, I hear the music, so we will see you Thursday. But till then, cooperate. Solve the issues. Save the planet. All right. See you then, eh? Take care.